You remember the pain clearly. So why does your heart still whisper their name in quiet moments? Why do you miss the person who made you cry in places nobody could see? Maybe it happens late at night. Maybe it happens while scrolling through old messages you promised yourself you deleted emotionally, even if not physically. Or maybe it happens in the middle of an ordinary day, a song, a smell, a street corner, and suddenly your chest tightens as if your soul remembers something your mind is desperately trying to forget. And that's the confusing part, isn't it? Because people think healing is supposed to look clean. They think once someone hurts you, your heart should automatically shut the door and walk away forever. But human emotions are not courtroom verdicts. The heart does not obey logic the way the mind wishes it would. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." And maybe that's why the more you try to force yourself not to miss them, the deeper their absence echoes inside you. This isn't weakness. This is what happens when someone becomes emotionally stitched into your routines, your identity, your loneliness, your future. You're not just grieving a person. You are grieving the version of yourself that existed when they were still there. And tonight, we are going to talk about the painful truth nobody explains. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most are the hardest to stop missing. Part 1. You don't miss them. You miss who you were with them. The human heart is strange. It can survive betrayal, disrespect, distance, silence, and still romanticize the memory afterward. Not because the pain was beautiful, but because the connection once made you feel alive in a way your current loneliness does not. That's the trap. Most people believe they miss someone, but often they miss the identity they became around that person. Maybe you laughed more. Maybe you dreamed bigger. Maybe the world felt softer when you thought somebody finally understood you. And when they left, it wasn't only them that disappeared. A part of you disappeared too. This is why heartbreak feels disorienting. You wake up one morning and realize your routines were emotionally built around another human being. The good morning texts, the random calls, the future plans, the invisible comfort of knowing somebody existed at the end of your day. Now the silence feels louder because your nervous system got attached to emotional familiarity, even toxic familiarity. Nietzsche once wrote, "Invisible threads are the strongest ties." And heartbreak proves this brutally, because the deepest attachments are often invisible ones. The emotional habits nobody else can see. You don't miss every argument. You don't miss every disappointment. You don't miss crying yourself to sleep. You miss the moments in between, the hope, the possibility, the version of love you kept trying to save. And perhaps the hardest truth of all is realizing that sometimes we stay emotionally attached not because the relationship was healthy, but because it became psychologically familiar. Pain can become familiar. Chaos can become familiar. Even inconsistency can start feeling like love when you experience it long enough. That's why people return to relationships that wounded them. Not because suffering feels good, but because uncertainty became emotionally addictive. And deep down, your heart still confuses familiarity with safety. Part 2. Your brain is addicted to their absence. You would think the healthiest love would leave the deepest mark, but psychologically, it's often the unstable connections that haunt people the longest. The relationships filled with mixed signals, emotional highs, sudden distance, affection followed by silence. Those are the ones that keep replaying in the mind long after they end. Why? Because the human brain becomes addicted to unpredictability. Think about it carefully. A person who hurts you and then suddenly comforts you creates emotional confusion. And confusion is powerful. Your nervous system begins chasing the next moment of relief, the same way a starving person chases food. You start craving the small moments of affection because they temporarily silence the pain they created. This is why toxic love can feel impossible to let go of. Not because it was deep, but because it was inconsistent, and inconsistency creates obsession. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. You never know when the reward is coming, so your brain keeps waiting, hoping, checking, replaying, imagining. One loving message after 10 cold days suddenly feels extraordinary. One moment of warmth after weeks of emotional distance feels unforgettable. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop falling in love with peace. You fall in love with emotional survival. Carl Jung believed that what remains unconscious controls us from within. And many people never realize they are not attached to love itself. They are attached to the emotional roller coaster that made them feel intensely alive. Because intensity can masquerade as intimacy. That's the dangerous illusion. Real love often feels calm, stable, grounded. But wounded hearts sometimes mistake anxiety for passion because chaos produces stronger emotional chemicals. The heartbreak becomes part of the attachment itself. So after they leave, your mind does something cruel. It edits the memories. It highlights the laughter while muting the disrespect. It replays the tenderness while minimizing the damage. It turns loneliness into nostalgia, and suddenly you are not grieving reality anymore. You are grieving a fantasy stitched together from selective memories and unmet emotional needs. Buddha once said, "Attachment is the root of suffering." Not because love is wrong, but because the mind clings to what it hoped something could become. That's why you still miss them. Not always because they were right for you, but because your heart is still detoxing from the emotional addiction of almost being loved. Part 3. Some people leave, but their voice stays inside you. They are the ones where they leave, but never fully leave your mind, because long after someone disappears physically, they often continue existing psychologically. Their voice becomes part of your inner world. Their opinions shape the way you see yourself. Their rejection quietly rewrites your self-worth without you even noticing. And this is where heartbreak becomes dangerous. Not when they leave, but when you start abandoning yourself because of it. Maybe they made you feel difficult to love. Maybe they slowly made you question your value. Maybe you began shrinking parts of yourself just to keep the connection alive. At first, it happened subtly. You stopped speaking openly to avoid conflict. You apologized for things that were not your fault. You learned to accept emotional crumbs because you feared losing the little affection they gave you. And eventually, without realizing it, their voice became louder than your own. This is why people sometimes miss those who hurt them. Because emotional attachment does not only create love, it creates identity conditioning. The relationship teaches your nervous system what to expect, what to tolerate, and what to believe about yourself. So when they leave, a strange emptiness appears. Not just because they are gone, but because the version of you built around pleasing them no longer knows how to exist. Carl Rogers once said, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." But heartbreak often does the opposite. It makes people reject themselves while desperately trying to understand why someone else rejected them first. And this creates an invisible prison. You replay conversations. You analyze mistakes. You wonder if you were too emotional, too sensitive, too needy, too broken. Meanwhile, the deeper question remains untouched. Why did you believe you had to earn basic love in the first place? That question changes everything. Because healthy love does not require self-erasure. It does not make you anxious for consistency. It does not make you beg for reassurance while calling it romance. But wounded hearts normalize suffering when suffering becomes familiar. And sometimes, missing someone is not really about wanting them back. Sometimes it is your soul trying to recover the parts of yourself you sacrificed just to keep them close. The truth is, some people leave fingerprints on your mind long after they stop holding your hand. And healing begins the moment you stop asking, "Why wasn't I enough for them?" And start asking, "Why was I willing to become less of myself just to be loved?" Part 4. The final reason you still miss them. It has to do with the version of you that believed love was supposed to hurt that much. There is a stage in heartbreak where logic has already understood everything. You know they weren't good for you. You know you suffered more than you smiled. You know leaving was necessary. And yet, the emotional pull remains. This is where most people get confused. They think healing failed because they still feel something. But feeling is not failure. Feeling is memory still dissolving. And the final layer of that memory is not the person, it is the emotional meaning you attach to them. Because at some point, that relationship stopped being just a relationship. It became a story your mind kept telling itself. That was the one. I will never feel that again. I lost something irreplaceable. And stories are harder to break than people. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But heartbreak convinces you that power was taken from you. It makes you believe that what happened to you defines what you deserve. And that belief is the real attachment, not the person, not the memories, but the meaning. This is why even after months, even after new experiences, even after new people, a part of you still returns to them in silence. Not because they are still present in your life, but because they are still present in your emotional narrative. And the mind resists letting go of narratives that shaped its identity, because if they are truly gone, then you have to face the truth that the pain they left behind was never proof of love. It was proof of attachment without alignment. And that realization can feel like grief all over again. But here is the quiet turning point. You stop missing them the moment you stop treating them as the answer to your emotional emptiness. Because what you are really searching for is not them. It is peace. It is stability. It is self-recognition. It is a version of you that no longer confuses chaos with connection. And one day, without dramatic closure, without a final message, without a sudden moment of clarity, you will notice something small. Their name will appear in your mind. And it will not pull you under anymore. It will pass through you like a memory, not a wound. And that is when you will understand. You did not lose them. You outgrew the version of you that needed them to hurt in order to feel loved. Healing was never about forgetting. It was about remembering yourself more than you remember them. And when that shift finally happens, missing them stops being a question. It becomes just another echo from a life you no longer live.